Welcome to this multi-stage reasoning module. Throughout this module, we will learn how to chain tasks using the chain function of the LangChain tool. Before we start explaining the reasoning module, let's reflect on the limitations that large language models have. While these models excel at traditional natural language processing tasks, such as summarizing text, determining class, or performing a translation, the limitations of large language models are significant. For translation, most workflows require more than a simple input and output. Therefore, we must find ways to combine large language models with other pieces of code efficiently and without disrupting the entire system. As we just mentioned, these large language models are great at individual tasks, but they are not as good when it comes to performing batch tasks or highly complex tasks. Batch tasks would include, for example, translating multiple articles simultaneously. And when we refer to complex tasks, we mean tasks that require more than one step to obtain a result. Let's consider a case where we want to analyze articles from a newspaper and derive the general sentiment of the newspaper. To do this, we would need, on one hand, to summarize the articles, emphasizing the sentiment, and then pass these summaries to a model that can provide a comprehensive sentiment of the newspaper. Accomplishing all this is not an easy task, and it can't be done all at once. If we believe that we could tackle this with a single large language model, we are mistaken, as it would be too challenging for it to handle everything at once, and moreover, it likely wouldn't do it well. A better strategy could be to take one article at a time, pass it through a specific large language model to generate summaries, and then, from the output of that summary, feed it into another specific large language model for sentiment analysis. This modular approach would enable us to build reusable and flexible tools that could address a task in different stages for different elements, in this case, for different articles. To implement this, we will turn to prompt engineering and workflows. We can create prompts with input variables to generate workflows that allow us to carry out the same task as many times as we have inputs. In the previous case, we would need to generate a workflow that summarizes all the articles in the newspaper, and that's what we're going to start programming. The first thing we need is a template that takes an input variable, which would be the article. Here we have this prompt where we instruct the large language model to summarize the following article, paying special attention to the emotional aspect, and we pass the article as a variable. This allows us to modify the article we provide in each execution, thus iterating through different articles. Then, we ask it to produce the output, which would be the summary. Next, we will use the prompt template function to generate the prompt. We pass the summary prompt template that we just mentioned as the template, and the input variable would be the article. What is the next step? It would be to iterate through all the articles to obtain the summaries, which is what we're doing here with a for loop. We're going to program a for loop that goes article by article within the list of articles and uses the summary prompt function we just generated. In this for loop, we will pass the next input article, and it will compose the prompt in each iteration, modifying this article. Once it has created the prompt, it passes it to the large language model to give us the summary. This constitutes the first part of our process. In the next task, we will explain how to program the second part, which was to use another large language model to obtain sentiment from the different summaries.